Hello everyone, welcome to the part 2 of NCERT as it is a review on basic concepts of chemistry. Now in part 0 we have looked at the very basic introduction part. There is a lot of history that we have seen in that. In part 1, this is where our focus has started in terms of examination point of view. So we looked at what is the classification of the matter, and also we talked about what are the important physical properties that we will be measuring in chemistry, and how do we measure them, and the units for the measurement of these physical properties. So that is what we have seen in the part 1. In part 2, right, whenever we are doing a measurement of a physical quantity, there will be obviously some error that can occur in the measurement, and that is what we will associate as the uncertainty part in the measurement. So we will have a method to understand what is the level of certainty that is there in a particular measured value. So that we will do by using the concept of significant figures. Because in physics, right, in units and dimension chapter, you will learn about something called as error analysis, but that is not there for us in chemistry. So we only have the idea of understanding how certain measurement is by using the significant figures concept. Then we have the laws of chemical combination, the basic laws in chemistry, that also we will cover in this particular session, and also we will look at the Dalton's theory. In the end, we will also look at how the idea of atomic mass and molecular mass has developed. So this is what is the coverage in session 2. The other things we will see in the because we have, as I said, totally we have, excluding the session 0, we have 4 sessions, 1, 2, 3, 4. So already we are done with one session. Now we are in the session 2. So this is what we are going to be covering in the session 2 part. Now those who have missed session 1, probably you can take a look at the session 1 so that you will have continuity. Session 0, yes, if you are able to see that, that's well and good, but if not, at least look at the session 1, because from there the real subject part is started. Yes. So when we talk about the study of chemistry, or rather the measurement part of it, right, we will be dealing with the experimental data. So whenever we are dealing with the experimental data, there will be the discussion about the certainty. So what is the level of certainty we have in a particular measured value or a data? So we have some approaches that we will be using to understand how we will be able to represent the certainty in the measurement of a particular value. So that's what we will try to see in the first. Now when you look at just the representation of the number itself, right, because in chemistry, since we are going to deal with, if we talk about the count of particles, like say in a small, as small as just 2 grams, if you want to count what is the number of hydrogen molecules, right, I mean just look at it, 602, 200, and how many triplets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 triplets of zeros are coming. Such a huge number, isn't it? At the same time, if you want to look at what is the actual mass of one hydrogen atom, look at how small it is, 0.000. The point is, in chemistry we will be dealing with, on one side, extremely large numbers, on the other side extremely small numbers also. Like even some of the constants that we use, right, like Planck's constant, I mean so already we have talked about it. Just to give you the approximate representation, that 6.626 into 10 power minus 34. Just look at the number, how small it is. Like lot of things that we see, this is on smaller side. If you talk about the speed of light, approximately what is it? We can say 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. If you talk about the charges and particles, it will be again such a small value. So we will have some things which will be very large in terms of magnitude, some things will be very small. Now obviously we can't go with this kind of representation for each and every number. Then obviously we'll not find space in our book sometimes, and probably it will be very confusing also. I mean, practically can we really quickly count what is the number of zeros in this? No, right? Similarly here also, what is the number of zeros after the decimal point? It will be confusing. So whenever we want to talk about the representation of the numbers, since we have this issue of having on one extreme very large values, other extreme very small values, right? We usually go with the scientific notation. What is scientific notation? Any number, right, will be represented in this form, capital N into 10 power small n. In this, the capital N is basically called as the number part, which will be between 1 to 9.999 and so on. And the 10 power small n, right, this is what we will be calling as the exponent part. This small n here, it can be positive, it can be negative also. So this notation, right, is what we will be calling as the scientific notation. Like say for example, we have this 232.508. So how do we represent this in scientific notation? We should write it as a number which is between 1 to 9.99 and so on, right? Look at this, we have 232. So how we can write it? 2.32508 into 10 power 2. Look at it. So if you are adjusting two decimal places to the left, we will get the power of 10, that much positive power will come, isn't it? So if you want to again go back, right, we have 10 square means what? Into 100, right? So into 100 means what? We have to shift the decimal places to the right side, we will get back. Okay. So if you are representing in this notation 2.32508 into 10 power 2, this is what we will be calling as the scientific notation. Any number we can represent this in the scientific notation, and like you see, lot of the numbers that we will represent, like just look at this. What are we saying? The value of Planck's constant is what? 6.626 into 10 power minus 34 joule into second. Look at this. Is it in scientific notation? This is also in the scientific notation, right? Look at this. There is a number part, and there is 10 power small n part, isn't it? Even the speed of light also. Even the charge of like the basic charge value, right? What is the basic charge value? We will say 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs, right? Look at this. This is also in the scientific notation. So say for example, we have 0.3 zeros and 16. You want to represent this in the scientific notation. How do we do it? Look at this. I can write it like what? 1.6 divided by 10,000, because 1.6 divided by 10,000 is what? 0.3 zeros and 16. So this adjustment rate is something that we have seen in our lower standards. Okay, so look at this. I mean, whatever the number of decimal places we shift, denominator for 1 we have to give that many number of zeros, isn't it? Because look at this. We are shifting how many decimal places? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 places we are shifting, means in the denominator after 1 we should be keeping 4 zeros. Now look at this. This is like what? 1.6 into 10 power minus 4. Okay, so this is what is the scientific notation. As you can see here, power of 10 is what? Minus 4. So in the scientific notation, the power of 10 can be positive, power of 10 can be negative also. Now when you have these numbers in the scientific notation, right, we may have to do some mathematical operations with numbers. Like sometimes we may have to multiply or divide them. Sometimes we may have to add or subtract them. So how do we go about the multiplication or division with numbers in the scientific notation? Let's say for example, we have to multiply 5.6 into 10 power 5 and 6.9 into 10 power 8. What we will have to do? First look at the product of both these numbers, number part, 5.6 into 6.9. And here we have the exponent rule, right? What is it? If you have like 10 power a into 10 power b, right, that will be like what? 10 power a plus b, no? See here, 10 power 5 in 10 power 8 means what? 10 power 5 plus 8. So 5.6 into 6.9 will be 38.64. 10 power is what? 5 plus 8 is 13. Now look at this, the one that we got. This answer is not in the scientific notation. What is it? 38.64. 0.64 into 10 power 13. That is not in scientific notation. So how do we get it? We have to make it like a number between 1 to 9.99 and so on, right? Means look at this. We have to adjust the decimal place 1 to the left. To the left means power of 10 will be increased by positive value 1. So you can write it like what? 3.864 into 10. 38.64 can be written as what? 3.864 into 10. Already there is a 10 power 13. Means total it becomes what? 10 power 14 it becomes. So look at this. 3.864 in 10 power 14. So what we have to do? Simply we have to multiply the number part. Look at the simplification of the exponent by using the exponent rule. Then the final number we have to just check it once, whether it is in the scientific notation or not. If it is not, means we have to again bring it back. Look at this. Now we have say 9.8 in 10 power minus 2 multiplied with what? 2.5 in 10 power minus 6. How do we do it? Again same thing. Numbers we have to multiply. Powers, you look at it. Here 10 power minus 2 and there is minus 6. Basically, like I said, right, 10 power a into 10 power b means what? 10 power a plus b. Minus 2 minus 6 means what? It becomes minus 8. 9.80 to 2.5 will be what? See, I am not practically doing it and showing it because this is a basic math. I am sure a lot of us can do it, but just make an effort to practice this basic math. Some of the students, right, we might not be really comfortable in doing this multiplication division part. So you do see that whether it is a JEE or NEET, at least in the physical chemistry part, you will have a lot of calculation involved. Okay, so 9.8 in 2.5 will be 24.50. Now this is not in the scientific notation. Look at this. It's not in scientific notation. How do we get it? So 2.450 into 10. 10 into 10 power minus 8 becomes what? 10 power minus 7 it becomes. That way. Same goes with division also. Look at this. 2.7 divided by, what do we have? 2.7 10 power minus 3 divided by what? 5.5 in 10 power 4 we are having. First we have to look at the division of the numbers. 2.7 by 5.5. Then look at the exponent part. What is it? If we have like 10 power a by 10 power b means what? It is the 10 power a minus b, right? Exponent rule. So look at this, 10 power minus 3 minus 4. What is this overall? 10 power minus 7. The division, right, 2.7 by 5.5 is giving us approximately what? 0.490. This is not in the scientific notation. Check it. Because the number is not between 1 to 9.999 and so on. How do we do it? We have to shift the decimal by 1 point. Means what? Look at this. This can be written as what? 4.909 by 10. Okay. So this by 10 means what? Overall it becomes what? 4.909 into 10 power minus 8 becomes. This is scientific notation. So always scientific notation means what? Number part, which is between 1 to 9.999 and so on, and the exponent part. So this is what we have to do in the multiplication division. Now if it is about addition subtraction, right, the first thing that we need to do is make sure that the numbers are brought in such a way that they have the same exponent. First thing is what? Before we do the addition subtraction, we should bring them in such a way that they will have the same exponent. Look at this. We are talking about adding 6.65 in 10 power 4 and 8.95 in 10 power 3. Because the exponents are different here, right? We will not be able to easily add them. So what we have to do? We have to make sure that first they are brought to the same exponent. See what we can do. This 8.95 in 10 power 3 can be written as what? 0.895 into 10 power 4. Just one decimal place left we adjust. So when we adjust that decimal place to the left, the power of 10 will be increased positive value by 1. This is all basic math. This we must be comfortable. Okay. So the 8.95 in 10 power 3 can be written as what? 0.895 in 10 power 4. Now you see, here 10 power 4, here 10 power 4. Okay. So if we want to add them means what? 6.65 in 10 power 4 plus 0.895 in 10 power 4. So you can see the way you can take out this 10 power 4 common, right? That is why first we have to make sure that both the numbers are having the same exponent, then only we can take them out common. Now you see simple addition, right? 6.65 plus 0.895, what is it giving us? 7.545. The exponent part will be as it is. Similarly, let's say you have to do subtraction. 2.5 in 10 power minus 2. From that we have to subtract what? 4.8 into 10 power minus 3. So again here what we have to do, look at the exponents, they are not the same. This 4.8 into 10 power minus 3, right, can be written as what? 0.48 into 10 into 10 power minus 3 means what is it? 0.48 into 10 power minus 2. We can write it like that. So look at this, we have made both the powers exponent part to be same, 10 power minus 2, 10 power minus 2. Now you see, like the way we did it, take 10 power minus 2 common. What is there? 2.5 minus 0.48. What is this? 2.02 will come, and the exponent part is as it is. So this is the approach. So addition subtraction means what we have to do, first we have to adjust the numbers to have the same exponent, then in the addition subtraction will be easy for us. So this is how we will deal with the numbers which are there in the scientific notation. So like we mentioned, right, whenever we are looking at an experimental measurement or a data, that will be always associated with some amount of uncertainty. Like say for example, we are measuring the mass of an object by using the normal platform balance, and the reading is coming as for example 9.4 grams. If the same mass we will measure by using analytical balance, already in the part 1 video we talked about the analytical balance, it will be able to give the measurement with more accuracy. So we can see that the mass is, let's say the reading is coming as what? 9.4213 grams. So one thing that we can clearly see is that the mass that is given by the analytical balance is more than the mass that is shown by the platform balance. So whenever we look at any measurement, right, say for example the mass given by the platform balance is what? 9.4 grams. Always this last digit of the measurement, right, is what we will associate the uncertainty with. Always the last digit is what we will associate the uncertainty with. Like even say for example we are talking about the volume of some measurement is 11.2 ml. So in this the 11 part will be the certain part, the last 2 will be what? The uncertain part. And the uncertainty, right, is basically going to come from the least count of the measuring instrument. Now the thing is, we don't have the error analysis in our chemistry coverage, but every instrument, right, will have a least count. Like say for example, if the platform balance is having a least count of 0.1 gram, that is when our reading will be 9.4 grams. If the vessel or whatever the volume measuring instrument is having a least count of 0.1 ml, that is when our volume will be coming as what? 11.2 ml. So how do we give a value to this uncertainty? Always it will be the last digit plus or minus 1. That is how we will associate the uncertainty. To the last digit it will be what? Either plus 1 or minus 1. So that much uncertainty, or we can say that much error. We say every measurement value we have to take, and that is basically what? Coming from the least count of the measuring instrument. So about this you will study in detail in physics as to what will be the least count of different measuring instruments. So you will learn about some general measuring instruments, and also you will learn about some very specific measuring instruments called as vernier calipers and screw gauge, particularly for the measurement of the lengths. Okay, so how do we compare the certainty in the values of measurement of 2 or 3 data points? So we will do it by using the concept of significant figures. So this is the one that is important for us in terms of both NEET as well as JEE. We have got questions in the previous years also asking, you know, what is the number of significant digits. So any data or measurement that is given to us, right, the number of significant figures basically is a representation of what is the digits with meaningful certainty plus the one that is uncertain. So basically the significant figures, right, the total number of significant figures in any data is going to indicate what is the amount of certainty we are having in that measured value. So basically more the number of significant figures means more is the certainty in that measurement. Lesser significant figures means what? Less will be the certainty. So how do we know what is the number of significant figures in a particular value of measurement? We have some rules for that. So these problems based on the significant figures, right, will be just based on the rules. We don't have to think much also. So how do we calculate the significant figures in a given measurement? The first rule is all non-zero digits. Like, you know, you look at this 285 centimeter. In this 2 is non-zero, 8 is non-zero, 5 is non-zero. All non-zero will be what? Significant. Means this 285 centimeter data has got 3 significant figures. Okay. Now look at the next one. In 0.25 ml, 2 is non-zero, 5 is also non-zero. These two will be what? Significant. But the 0 on the left side, right, that will not be significant. So we'll see that in the next point. So this 0.25 ml will only have what? 2 significant figures. 2 will be counted as significant, 5 also will be counted as significant, but the 0 will not be counted. Why? We will see here. Second point, look at second point. The zeros preceding to the first non-zero digit will not be significant. I mean, don't bother about what is this, you know, preceding and all that. All the left side zeros, that's it. All the zeros on the left side, right? You have a non-zero, first non-zero number that will come. Before that, whatever the zeros on the left side, just ignore them. They will not be counted. Like say for example, you have this 0.03. In this, both the zeros are coming on the left. Don't count them. So 0.03 has only one significant figure. What is it? The 3 only will be counted because non-zero means that will be counted as significant. Look at this one, 0.0052. 5 is significant, 2 is significant. But what about the 3 zeros all on the left side? Don't count them. So 0.0052 will have how many significant figures? 2 significant figures. The third point is the zeros which are between two non-zero digits. Like look at this in 2.005, right? This 0 and this 0, they are between two non-zero digits. They are between 2 and 5. So we have to count them as what? Significant. Similarly, if you have, for example, you know, this one 40.008. Look at this. All the 3 zeros will be what? Significant. So 40.008 will have what? 4 and 8 significant. These 3 zeros also significant. Totally what is it? 5 significant figures. All the zeros which are in between two non-zero digits, they will also be counted as what? Significant. Then there is one more point that is not given in the NCERT textbook, that is about what we call as the trailing zeros. Means the zeros that will come on the right side. Look at this. If I have, you know, 560, the 0 on the right side, not significant. 2500, both the zeros. All the trailing zeros are what? They will not be considered as significant. Trailing zeros means what? The zeros that will come on the right side, they will not be counted significant. But they will be counted significant sometimes when the zeros at the end or the right side, right, they are a part of the decimal number. So when the zeros are a part of the decimal number, right, the right side zeros. Previously, what is the point I said? Trailing zeros. The zeros that will just come on the right side, like 560, 2500. all those zeros will not be counted. But if they are a part of the decimal number, means look at this one, 0.200 grams in this, right? This 2 is significant. Why? Because that is non-zero. Look at this, these 2 zeros on the right side, they are a part of the decimal number, right? So they will be counted as significant. But what about the left side zero? Left side zeros are always what? Not significant. Left side zeros are always not significant. So look at this. All the preceding zeros means what? The left side. Left side always not significant. Only the right side, if the number is a decimal number, right, then all the right side ones will be what? Taken as significant. Look at this, 100. These 2 zeros will count them as what? Trailing zeros. These 2 zeros will not be counted as significant. So only one significant figure, which is our 1. Look at this 100 point. Nothing is there after point, but we are just representing it as what? 100 point. Means this is decimal notation, right? So the zeros on the right side, right, they have to be counted as what? Significant. So look at this 100 point has got what? 3 significant figures. In this, 1 is anyway non-zero significant. The 2 zeros which are on the right side also have to be counted. So look at this 100 point will have what? 3 significant figures. What about this one? 100.0. All the 3 zeros on the right side, they will be significant. So totally what is it? 4 significant figures are there. In 100.0 there will be how many significant figures? Totally 4 will be there. 1 is anyway significant. The 3 zeros also will be what? Significant. For example, you have a number 100. You want to express this like as a number with one significant figure. You can write it like this. If you write 100 as 1 into 10 power 2, right, it will be having only one significant figure, that is 1. If you write the 100 as 1.0 into 10 power 2, you may think it is the same way of representing, but there is a difference. If you write it as 1.0 in 10 power 2, the 1 is significant, 0 is also significant. It will be having what? 2 significant figures. If the same thing you will write as 1.00 in 10 power 2, look at this. 1 is significant, these 2 zeros are also significant. What is it? It will have 3 significant figures. So normally in the general sense, right, you may think that all 3 are basically giving us the same value, but in terms of the way we will count the significant figures, it will be different. And what is the importance of the significant figures? It is a measure of what is the amount of certainty. So if you are writing it like 1.0 into 10 power 2 means what? This representation has more certainty because it has got more number of significant figures. Now this is another important point when you are just talking about counting of number of objects, like 2 balls, 20x. We can never go wrong in that. I mean, that's the kind of an understanding that is taken into consideration. Means 2 balls means we'll just have 2 balls. 20x means we'll have 20x. So these counting of objects, right, they are supposed to have like infinite number of significant figures, because there is no possibility of any error in that. That is how it is, because when you go with a measuring instrument, there will be always an error or uncertainty in terms of the measured value. But just the count of objects, right, the way we look at the significant figure concept, we will have to say what? The count of object has got infinite number of significant figures. Okay. And with regard to the numbers in scientific notation, like say somebody is just to conclude that previous point, right, if for somebody is saying that I'm having 40 goats, so this is basically about what? Counting the goats, 1 2 3. So they would have counted perfectly. Means if somebody asks what is the number of significant figures, what we have to say? Infinite. That is only for the counting of objects. So if we have a number which is in the scientific notation, scientific notation means what? We'll have this capital N into 10 power small n, right? We already seen that. The number of significant figures in the scientific notation number, right, will be given by the number part. See, scientific notation will have a number part, exponent part. We have to count the significant figures based on the number part. That's it. Means, look at it, 4.01. It has got how many significant figures? 3. Why? Because 4 is significant, 1 is significant, non-zero. This 0 is coming in between two non-zero digits. That is also significant, right? So totally 4.01 has got 3 significant figures. So look at this, 8.256. All are what? Non-zero digits, all are significant. So it has got 4 significant figures. So in a number with a scientific notation, the number of significant figures is calculated based on the number part. We don't have to worry about what is the exponent part. Just look at the number part. Okay. Now we'll just take one question. This is an NCERT exercise question. Now because we want to just the review NCERT, right? As much as possible, we are taking questions from the in-text. If it is not there, means we are trying to pick up some questions from the exercises. That's it. Question is simple. How many significant figures are there in the following representation? Look at the first one. 0.0025. 2 is significant, 5 is significant, non-zeros, non-zero digits. But what about these 3 zeros? They are on the left side. Left side means what? Anything on the left side, not significant. So it has got just 2 significant digits. Now look at the second one. What is it? 208. 2 is significant, 8 is significant. What about the 0? 0 is coming in between two non-zero. That is also what significant. Totally what is it? 3 significant will come. Look at this. 5005. 5 is significant, 5 is significant. The 2 zeros are in between non-zero. They are all significant. Totally what is it? 4 significant will come. Because both these 5s are significant, non-zero digits. The 2 zeros are sitting in between non-zero digits, right? They are also significant. So totally what is it? 4 significant figures will come. Look at this. 126,000. These are what we are calling as the trailing zeros, right? They are not significant. So 126 will only have what? 3 significant figures. What are those? 1, 2 and 6. All non-zero digits. Look at this one. 500.0. Zeros are coming on the right, but they are a part of the decimal number. Means what? 5 is significant. The 3 zeros also we have to count as what? Significant. Means what? Totally 4 significant will come. Look at this last one. 2.0034. 2 is significant, 3 is significant, 4 is significant. Zeros are coming between two non-zero digits. They are all significant. Totally what is it? 5 significant figures will come in that. And you can see there are no counting of objects in this. None of these values, right? We have said, there is a counting of the objects. Okay, so this is how we will calculate the number of significant figures. Now, when we had talked about the representation of a measurement value in scientific notation, we said how we will deal with the mathematical operation, meaning multiplication, division of numbers in scientific notation, addition, subtraction of numbers in scientific notation. Similarly, when you have a measured value, or rather different measurement values, we are doing a mathematical operation like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and by doing it we will get a derived value, because significant figures, right, will be a representation of what? The amount of certainty, how certain the measurement is, isn't it? So here you are having a derived value, right? The derived value will be as much certain as the least certain among the given data. So like say we have 5 data measurements. Among them, one of them will be least certain. The final derived value, right, will be as much certain as the least certain data point. And how do we express this? we have a rule for expressing the final value of the addition subtraction, and we have a rule for expressing the final value in the multiplication division. So what is it? We will see. Suppose we are talking about the addition subtraction concept here. Let's say we are adding 12.11, 18.0 and 1.012. The final result cannot have, this is in case of addition subtraction. The rule will be based on the decimal places. This is one thing we need to keep in mind. The rule for the addition subtraction is based on what? It is based on the decimal places. Just keep this in mind. The final result cannot have more digits to the right side of the decimal point than either of the original numbers. Means what? Look at this now. So here we are talking about adding 12.11. How many decimal places are there? I mean, how many digits are there after the decimal place? 2. 18.01. 1.012, 3. So which is the one that has got the least number of digits after the decimal? It is our 18.0. Only one digit is coming. So if you simply add them, right, first you add them. If you add 12.11, 18.0 and 1.012, right, we have to first simply add them. We will get what? 31.122 will come. But look at this now. What are we saying? What is the rule? The final answer should be having only those many number of digits after the decimal point, which is equal to the least of the given numbers. Look at this. 18.0 has only one digit after the decimal. So final result also should have only one digit after the decimal. So how do we get this? See, we are getting 31.122, right? We'll say we can round it off to just one decimal. How do we round it off? Already we have some understanding about it, but we'll see how we will do the round off. There are some rules for the rounding off of numbers. When you round it off to just one decimal place, right, what is the value we are going to get? We will get it as what? 31.1. Just make a note of it. We will see the same example when we discuss about the rules for the rounding off. If it is about the multiplication division, right, if it's about the multiplication division, then the final result adjustment will be based on the significant figures. Addition subtraction means based on what? Decimal places. Multiplication division means the final result will be adjusted based on what? Significant figures. Let us look at it. What is this? What are we saying here? The result, the final result reported with no more significant as in the measurement with few significant figures. Means what? We are doing the multiplication of 2.5 with 1.25. Just do the normal multiplication. What is the value of it? 3.125. Now the given numbers, let me call it as what? A and B. A is what? 2.5, B is what? 1.25. A is having how many significant figures? 2 significant figures. B is having how many significant figures? 3 significant figures. Okay. Now the final answer, right, should have no more significant figures than the measurement with a few significant figures. Means what? Between A and B, which is the one that is having least number of significant figures? It is our A. 2 significant figures. So the final answer should be rounded off to what? Just 2 significant figures. Look at this. Since 2.5 has the few significant figures, just 2 it is having. The final answer should not be having more than 2 significant figures. Means it should be rounded off to what? 2 significant figures. So when you round it off, it will be rounded off to what? 3.1. Again, how this rounding off will happen, we will see. That is what we are going to see next. So get the idea here. What is it? If it is about addition subtraction, the rounding off is based on the decimal places. If it is about multiplication division, the rounding off is based upon the significant figures. Addition subtraction we will choose least number of decimal places. Multiplication division we will choose least number of significant figures and then round it off. Let's see what are these rules for the rounding off. I am sure we are aware of it in the lower standard. This is the part of the basic math. Say for example, if the rightmost digit that we are rounding off or removing, rounding off means what? In general way we can say it as what? Removing, is more than 5, then the preceding number, means the previous number, is increased by value 1. Look at this. If I am doing rounding off of 1.386, the last rightmost digit 6, it is what? More than 5, right? If you are removing 6 means we should add a 1, or rather we should increase the preceding value by 1. Means what? This 8 will be raised by 1, means what it becomes? It becomes 1.39. Okay. Next point, if the rightmost digit which you are rounding off or removing is less than 5, then the preceding number is not changed at all. Means look at this. If you are doing 4.344, look at this, 4.334, sorry. The last digit is what? 4. It's less than 5, isn't it? So when you are removing it or rounding off, that's it. You will simply drop it. If you drop it means what it is? 4.33. Now I will show you what we had before. Just remember, in the case of the addition subtraction, the value that we got is 31.122. We have to round it off to 1 decimal place. Look at this. So let's come here. 31.122 we have to round it off to what? Just 1 decimal place. Means first I want to think about the rightmost digit. What is it? 2. Less than 5. Just drop it. If you drop it, what you will get? 31.12. Still have to drop one more digit, isn't it? Because there are 2 digits after the decimal. What is the number I have to drop? 2. Again less than 5. Simply drop it. If you drop it means what you will get? See, that's what is the 31.1. Okay. So now we look at the third point. This is important. If the rightmost that is to be removed is just 5, we said what is the case if it is more than 5 and less than 5, but what if it is exactly equal to 5? Then if the preceding number is even, the preceding number will not be changed, it will be as it is. But if the preceding number is odd, it will be increased by 1. Say for example, if you want to talk about 6.35, last digit to be rounded off is what? 5, right? What is the preceding one? Look at it, odd. So if you are dropping the 5 means you have to add a 1 to the preceding. It becomes what? 6.4. Whereas look at this one. If you are rounding off 6.25, last digit to be rounded off is what? 5, right? Preceding is what? 2, even. Nothing will be added. Now using this rule, I will show you how we will round off the multiplication. Remember in the multiplication, right? In the multiplication previous case, the answer we got was 3.125. We had to round it off to 2 significant figures, right? So 3.125, we have to round it off to 2 significant figures. As you can see it, right? It is having how many significant figures? 4 are there. All are non-zero digits, all are significant. So first I will start with dropping the last one, 5. When you are dropping 5, you have to be careful. Preceding, is it even or odd? It is even. So no addition, just as it is, just drop it off. Now you see how many significant figures are there in this? 3 are there, isn't it? All are non-zero digits. We have to drop one more. Now we are dropping a number which is less than 5. 2 we are dropping. If you are dropping a number which is less than 5 means don't do anything, just drop it. Now you see 3.1, 2 significant figures, check it. So when you round it off to 2 significant figures, what we will get? We will get it as what? 3.1. Okay. So these are the rules that we have for expressing the final result when you are doing addition subtraction of numbers. We will have to go with the decimal place correction, least decimal place. Multiplication division means least significant figure. If you have to round off means we have to follow these rules for the rounding off. Now when you are generally doing a measurement, right, we will get a value. In lab if you see, we will keep repeating the experiment multiple number of times. And usually what we'll do is, like, if say for example student A is doing the experiment 2 times, so one time he is getting 1.95, other time he is getting what, 1.93. The final answer that you will take, generally you will be taking it as the average. Same with the student B and same with the student C also. Like, we'll see sometimes, right, experiment will be repeated even more number of times. I mean, here just one sample illustration, but experiments generally can be repeated multiple number of times, so that you will be able to average out the possible errors. Okay, so all this is I mean, little bit into what we call as the error analysis principles, but here we have two ideas. One is about the idea of precision, and second is about the idea of accuracy. Precision means it is about the property of all the measured data. Means what? If you have, like, two measurements, like what we are seeing, A is taking 2 measurements, B is also taking 2, C is also taking 2. Precision refers to what? The closeness of the various measurements. How close the measurements are. Whereas the accuracy, right? Accuracy is about each and every measurement. Accuracy is for what? It is for each and every measurement. I will have to say what is the accuracy of the measurement 1. I will have to say what is the accuracy of the measurement 2. Like that we have to give the accuracy for each and every measurement. What is the accuracy? It basically talks about the agreement of a particular measured value to the true value of the result. So precision is for the entire data of the measured values. Accuracy will define for each and every measurement. So let us say, for example, the one that we saw before, right? A, B, C students, they are trying to measure something whose true value is 2 grams, 2.00 grams. So there is a difference, right? If I just say 2 grams and saying 2.00 grams, there is a difference. What is it? 2.00 grams means I am talking about 3 significant figures, isn't it? Just 2 means I am talking about 1 significant figure. Okay. Now let's say these students A, B, C, they are giving these different measurements as you have seen. So A is giving us what? 1.95 and 1.93. When you look at these two values, right, they are close by. The two measurements are what? Close by. So if you see the values that A is giving, these values are precise. Precision means what? Closeness of the various measurements. They are close by. They are close to each other, but they are not accurate. Look at this. If you want to talk about the accuracy of measurement 1, what is the true value? Let us keep the true value here. True value is what? 2.00 grams. Is the measurement 1 very close to this? Is the measurement 2 very close to this? No. So the measurements given by student A, right, what we can conclude? They are having precision, but the measurements, right, are not accurate. Now we can talk about the student B. What is student B giving us? Look at this. He is giving us one data as 1.94, other is what? 2.04. Are they close? They are very, very far. Means what? B, no precision. 1.94, is it close to 2.00? 2.05, is it close to 2.00? So the measurements, right, they are having no precision and also no accuracy. So B is reporting what? 1.94 and 2.05. These results, right, they are neither precise nor accurate. Let's talk about the third student C. Look at the C part. C is giving us what? The measurements of 2.01 and 1.99. Look at this. They are very close. 2.01 and 1.99 are they very close. So what we can conclude? There is a precision. Not only that, look at this. 2.01 is very close to the true value. So we'll say what? These measurements are also accurate. So the measurements given by C, right, They are precise as well as accurate. So this is about the concept of precision and then accuracy. The only thing that we need to keep in mind is the idea of precision is about the all data points, how close they are. The accuracy part, right, we will talk for each measurement value, how close it is to the true value. That is what we will be talking as the accuracy part. Okay, so now this is all about the measurement in terms of how do we talk about the certainty. But if you get a value of measurement, right, like in the session 1 also we talked about it, conversions, like somebody is giving us the value of length in terms of say for example mile. So how do you convert this into kilometer? So for these conversions, right, we use what we call as the unit factor method or the factor label method. This is also called as what? Dimensional analysis method. So this is the dimensional analysis, right? This is a word that you will see in physics. It's a very simple idea, the conversion principle, right? Let's say for example we will work it out by using this a textbook example. So we have a piece of metal which is 3 inches. Okay, so the notation for this, so if you want to represent inch means what, we can say 3 in. What is the length in centimeters? That is the question. So we have the measurement of the length is what given in terms of the inches. We want to convert this into what? Centimeter. So we will see how this factor label method will work. First thing is we should know what is the conversion factor. This we should know. This we will be getting from the definition, actual definition of what is an inch and what is a centimeter. So look at this, suppose we already have it. 1 inch is what? We should not think that they will give it. So we must be already having it, like you want to convert mile into kilometer means what? 1 mile will be approximately equal to what? 1.6 kilometer. That is the conversion. We should have this. If we are having it, then look at it, the factor 1 or unity, look at this, 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeter. If you take 1 inch to the right side, what you will have? Left side just be 2.54 centimeter by 1 inch. If you bring the 2.54 to the left side, then 1 inch by 2.54 centimeter is equal to what? 1. So look at this. Basically the reason why we call it as a unit factor method is we are looking at what is the value of 1. What is the value of 1? Either 1 inch by 2.54 centimeters, that is 1, or 2.54 centimeters by 1 inch, that is also equal to 1. Now in the conversion, right, we are going to use this unit factor. That's why the method itself is called as what? The unit factor method. Okay, so we'll see how the conversion will actually happen. So we want to convert 3 inches into centimeter, right? Now 3 inches means I can say just 3 inch into 1. In place of 1 I am going to use that unit factor. Because I want to convert inch into centimeter, right? Look at this. I'll say what? 3 inch into, so I will choose 1 as what? 2.54 centimeter by 1 inch. So 2.54 centimeter by 1 inch means what? Inch gets cancelled. So the final answer will be in terms of what? Centimeter. Look at this. 3 into 2.54 centimeter. What is it? 7.62 centimeter. So that's the reason why we are calling it as what? The unit factor. So here we are basically multiplying with what? 2.54 centimeter by 1 inch. Similarly, if say for example we want to convert the time, which is in number of days, 2 days is there, we want to convert this into seconds. Just look at this, what is 1 day? 1 day is equal to 24 hours. So the unit factor here is what? Either 1 day by 24 hours or 24 hours by 1 day. Now 1 hour is 60 minutes. So in this case, what is the unit factor? 1 hour by 60 minutes or 60 minutes by 1 hour. If you go one more step, right, 1 minute is equal to what? 60 seconds. So here unit factor will be what? 1 minute by 60 seconds, or 60 seconds by 1 minute. This is what we call as a unit factor. Okay, so now we will see how we will go about doing the conversion of 2 days. So here we have to convert the day first into what? Hours. So what is the conversion factor here? Unit factor. It will be what? 24 hours by, look at this. We will choose what? 24 hours by 1 day we will choose. So once you do the multiplication, the final answer will be in terms of hours. We want to convert hours into what? Minutes. Then again we have to choose the unit factor. What is it? 60 minutes by 1 hour we will choose. Now the value will be in terms of minutes. Now we have to again choose the unit factor. What is it? We have to convert minutes into seconds. So we will choose what? 60 seconds by minute. So if you see here, right, day gets cancelled, hour gets cancelled, minute gets cancelled. What do we have? 2 into 24 into 60 into 60, the final value in terms of seconds. It's a very simple idea, right? What is it? Just we have to choose that unit factor. By using the unit factor, we can convert one measurement into another system of units. Like say for example, I'll give you one more instance. I have 2 miles. I want to convert this into kilometer. As we said, right, what is the normal conversion? 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometer, let's say. So here the unit factor will be what? Look at the unit factor first. 1 mile by 1.6 kilometer is equal to 1. Also 1.6 kilometer by 1 mile is equal to 1. Either of them. So here I want to convert miles into kilometer, means I will choose this one. So 2 miles into 1.6 kilometer by 1 mile. Mile gets cancelled. What is it? 2 into 1.6 means approximately. See here, that is how we will do the